Roger Stone here. Every day you wait, your money loses value, but gold and silver don't follow those same rules. American Sovereign Bullion gives you access to a nationwide wholesaler network, helping you secure aggressive pricing on real physical metals. Call 844-272-2428 now to get your free gold and silver guide to learn how to protect your wealth with physical gold and silver, delivered right to your door or with a gold IRA. Visit asbgold.com. That's asbgold.com for your free gold and silver guide today.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Sunday morning, Mother's Day. Well, with us today is Louis Katsos, a real estate professional, an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, and he loves history. Well, Lou, we were talking the other day, and you had a few things in mind because history repeats itself, and you love history. So tell us what you have on your mind on Mother's Day.
Okay, on Mother's Day, John, in this particular time period, we're talking about the 221st anniversary of the Battle of Derna, which took place in 1805. It was the first battle that America fought overseas and actually won. It was the first overseas battle. So it was a dramatic episode in the history of the United States. And let me explain why. It related to the first Barbary Wars. For those who don't know about American history in general, America fought battles overseas called the Barbary Wars. So the first Barbary War took place from about 1801 to about 1805. And the reason why they had the Barbary Wars was because the Mediterranean Sea for centuries, John, was shaped by the Barbary states of North Africa. They included what is now Libya, Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco. And they were semi-autonomous states within the Ottoman Empire. And these rulers demanded tribute payments from foreign nations in exchange for safe passage of merchant ships that were traveling through the Mediterranean. Now, America, when it won its liberation, did not really have a navy, etc. It was protected by England before 1776. But after that, the Barbary pirates, starting in the late 1790s, started to ask the Americans for tribute. And, John, this may be shocking to many people, but 15 to 20% of the total U.S. federal revenues at that time period was connected to payment of tribute, ransom, gifts, and naval arrangements involving the Barbary pirates. So what they did was, if you didn't pay, they would capture your ships and they would enslave your people. So American captives were actually enslaved in slave markets, forced labor, diseases, etc. And in some cases, these Americans were held for 10 years or more for ransom. And when the Barbary pirates wanted to raise the ransom price to Americans, Jefferson said, screw you, basically. And that was the declaration of war against the Barbary pirates. So in this particular battle that I mentioned, in the anniversary, John, the 221st anniversary, which is right now, America, with the Marines, basically also incorporating Greek mercenaries and some Arab regional allied fighters, met in Egypt and basically crossed the desert into Libya and fought that particular battle. And that's where you get the famous song, the famous Marine Corps song and the phrase, "To the shores of Tripoli." And they won the battle. There were American ships also outside of the fortifications of Derna, which were firing shots while the Americans and the Greeks basically invaded.
I bet you 95% of Americans don't know what the shore. They all sing the shores of Tripoli, but 95% of the Americans probably don't know what that's all about.
Yeah, not only that, John, it really relates to what's happening today. You know, in other words, historical importance and modern relevance. For example, the Barbary Wars carried enormous symbolic importance to the United States, and they demonstrated that America could no longer submit indefinitely to coercion abroad and was prepared to defend its commerce, sovereignty, and national honor through military action. Now, when you look at what's happening, for example, in the Straits of Hormuz, okay, where you have modern tensions involving Iran and revolve around the ability to disrupt or control one of the world's most critical maritime corridors. In other words, roughly 20% of global seaborne oil and natural gas through the Straits of Hormuz. It almost seems a similar type of situation. So the question is, like 200 years ago, would the United States tolerate coercion against international maritime commerce, or would it use military power to defend freedom of navigation?
So when we're talking about Hormuz, we should start. We will have a song in the future for the Marines called, to the shores of Hormuz.
Well, yeah, John. Yeah, people don't understand it. They're talking about a couple of months or so, or even more, of gas prices being higher, etc. Not understanding, many people don't comprehend. The ability of others later on to have missiles with nuclear warheads that could target the United States and kill ourselves, our children, and our grandchildren. In other words, people are complaining, telling America not to get involved, etc. Meanwhile, not understanding that these are significant things that could wipe us out. So, to a certain degree, I have to say that what is taking place right now by the United States, in my personal opinion, I approve of it, quite frankly. We cannot allow people to have nuclear weapons, to have terrorism, and they're basically terrorists. The government people are terrorists, not the people themselves in Iran. But the government of Iran is a terrorist, country. There's no doubt about it. The largest, creator of terrorism around the world. And they have to be stopped. And I think what Jefferson did was a positive thing and a moment in history this particular week.
So President Jefferson and President Trump will stand side by side from the shores of Tripoli to the shores of Hormuz.
That's correct.
Thank you so much for coming on this Mother's Day Sunday morning, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you.
77 WABC and Bergen Newbridge Medical Center honor the life of legendary broadcaster and our friend, Ernie Anastas.
Hi, it's Ernie Anastas. Your thoughts can affect how you feel. Bergen Newbridge Medical Center is the largest hospital in New Jersey, providing comprehensive, equitable, compassionate, and high-quality emergency inpatient and outpatient medical care, plus mental health services and substance use disorder treatment. The Bergen Newbridge team can address your total health needs in one convenient location. Call 201-225-7130 for an appointment or newbridgehealth.org.